So Mario Kart, we can all agree that it's good, right? I mean, how many other series are so widely emulated? If there's one mark of a good video game, it's being the homework that Garfield copied. Mario Kart's items are perhaps its defining element. It's what keeps Mario Kart in a separate subgenre from Forza, F-Zero, and Civilization. But the true question on everyone's lips is, what is the worst item in Mario Kart? There is absolutely no consensus on this point. No two people will give the same answer, and no one can truly feel that they know with certainty. Oh, what's this doing here? It would be really easy for me to just list the function of each item. The red shell is a really useful item because it actually homes in on your opponent, which makes it an extremely functional and versatile item that lets you punish opponents and succeed in races. But if you clicked this video, you probably don't need me to exposit too much. I'd like to look at these items from a more fundamental perspective. So the item I deem the worst might not be what you expect. Who knows, maybe we'll even find the best on the way. Let me share my findings. I'll say going into it that I'm not going to include the special items from Double Dash and Tour, except those that are normal items in other games. My apologies to all the giant banana enthusiasts out there. Maybe another video another day. Only the standard items from the core games are here, and that alone still leaves us with over 20 to worry about. For this video, I've spent more time thinking about each of them than any human rationally should. So with all that out of the way, let's start with the core items. Green shell. Ah, the green shell, bread and butter of the series. Something about it feels so definitively Mario Kart. The bouncy wall element is a nice translation of the shells from the platformers, and it also adds a bit of a risk-reward aspect. Also, let's be honest, hitting with a green shell is not super easy. I never take it as a given that my green shell is gonna hit, but the most common projectile in the game shouldn't be super easy to hit with, right? And that difficulty of use is one of the most compelling things about it. Anyone can land a red shell, but if you hit with a green, you feel like a god. You feel like you beat the odds. It's the Doom Pistol of Mario Kart. Conversely, if you get hit with a green shell, you feel ashamed. It feels like a Zubat one-shotted you with a critical hit. And if you hit yourself with a green shell, you just gotta pack up and move. Banana peel. I find it a perfect complement to the green shell. Why shoot forward what you can drop backward? Much like in real-world driving, the littering of banana peels is the main reason you need to watch the road. A seasoned veteran can probably drive Coconut Mall blindfolded, but how's that veteran gonna react to a banana peel on the escalator? Nothing's stopping you from being hoisted by your own potassium either. If everyone avoids it, that means you gotta worry about it too on the next lap. Throwing the banana peel in front of you is a fun touch. Raise your hand if you've ever thrown a peel and then immediately crashed into it. Just me? Okay. Banana peels are very visible, but that tends to cause you to look at them, and just like in real driving, if you look directly at something, you tend to whoops! Sometimes I see it coming like 3 seconds in advance and my brain wants to react, but my thumbs are transfixed. There are ways to hide bananas too. That brings me back to playing Mario Kart DS as a kid and always planting bananas inside of item boxes so that the CPUs would always hit them. Take that, dry bones. That's what you get for being a mockery of life. A function of both green shells and bananas that I haven't really mentioned is the blocking element. Being able to hold the item behind you to protect yourself is such a core part of the mind games of Mario Kart. Picture it, you're in the home stretch, 15 seconds to the goal, you passed the final item box and it gave you a banana peel. You're in second place, Wario's in first. Do you throw the banana in hopes of hitting him, or do you hold on to it because you know that a red shell hit now could drop you to 4th or 5th place? Mushroom. A speed boost is so deceptively simple. If it were just a speed boost, it'd be unremarkable. What I love is the way the track designs synergize with it. The little off-road sections you can bypass with a well-placed boost. A huge portion of the shortcuts are designed with the mushroom in mind. Let's be honest, you're not making the Yoshi's armpit jump without a little help. The fact that the mushroom cannot defend you the way the green shell and banana do plays into the tactics aspect too. You have a mushroom and you're coming to an item box, but you know there's a shortcut past it. Do you waste the mushroom to take a new item, or do you keep it so that you can boost the shortcut, knowing that you're then itemless and defenseless? There's another aspect to the mushroom's function that I'll bring up later, but it has similar implications for the role of the item. Imagine if eating a mushroom in real life would cause you to surge forward like that. The equivalent to eating garlic on the first day would be eating a mushroom and... She's not calling you back. Red shell. The red shell is frankly the hinge that Mario Kart swings on. I've brought it up when discussing all 3 of the previous items. I mean, think about it. If there were no red shells, why would you need to worry about guarding yourself? The fear of the red shell is what keeps you in line. It's basically nuclear deterrence. The red shell itself can be used as a shield, but doesn't that feel like a waste? Do you really want to let that weapon be taken from you before you get the chance to use it? And what if the nearest opponent is so far ahead of you that you can't tell if they're guarding? Do you throw the red shell in hopes of being lucky, or do you hold on to it? Regardless, Mario Kart would not be Mario Kart without this item. Star. Whereas the previous items have circumstantial use cases, the star is the first item we're looking at with a duration. It's sort of just an equalizer. Hand it to someone who's doing badly in the race and they get to have some fun. The invincible rampage with the strobe lights and the bouncy music gives it even more of a vibe. I also find it really funny when someone passes you with a star and you just hear their star music faintly. I'm especially fond of the double dash version. Look at it! This guy's having a good time. Blue shell. People who like Mario Kart love to hate this pointy little bastard. I think it's great as an item. In my opinion, the whole point of items, the fun of them even, is to reduce the divide between the most and least skilled players, the jaded truckers and the wide-eyed neonates. And what narrows the gap more succinctly than something that literally seeks out and detonates the player in first place? And god, the emotions it provokes when you're in first place and you hear that siren and suddenly Sinistar's on your tail, and when did the room start spinning?
Run, coward!
How do you react when you're in first place and you see that terrifying icon pop up? Do you slam the brakes and hope somebody passes you before they finish inputting the launch codes? Do you drop your items in hopes of getting some use out of them before they get blown up? Or if you're lucky enough to have a mushroom... I love this function for the mushroom, by the way. For a long time, that was your best bet for escaping Cyan Vengeance. I love that it was something you could accomplish only with luck and good timing. Of course, now there's another way to escape the blue shell. Super Horn. The Super Horn feels like it's one of the core items, even though it's relatively new. If you can call 2014 new, anyway. It's hard to picture Mario Kart without it at this point. The visual design is nothing special. It looks like a Fisher-Price air raid siren, but it represents something interesting for gameplay. A short-range blast that takes out both characters and items is so unique. It's so satisfying to just get into the middle of a bunch of opponents and whip out the Shinra Tensei. And then there's the other function. The one it was literally marketed for. It's branded specifically as the Blue Shell Killer, and it sure is that. I'm not automatically opposed to an anti-blue shell item, but it doesn't really require skill the way the mushroom dodge does. It doesn't feel special, and it feels like it gives an advantage that the first place player doesn't really need. That said, the Super Horn is probably a rare enough item that it balances out. I like that it still forces some decision making too. If a red shell's coming at you, do you use the horn or do you take the hit for a fear that a blue shell could come later? The Super Horn is just middling for me. Lightning. Probably the most extreme item in the series. Hitting everyone at once in a way that can't be dodged is such a capital M moment, but one that's just rare enough that it doesn't feel like it breaks the game. I like that the shrink effect makes all the opponents vulnerable to collision, and forcing opponents to drop their items is so chaotic. I can't help but appreciate it. Multi-items. Ah yes, item, but more. There's nothing I can really say about the triple mushroom. Everything I said about the mushroom still applies, just, you know, More. I like the way the triple shells revolve around you. You basically get one free block, but once you're down to 2 shells, you have to decide whether you like the 2-to-1 odds. I think one of the best decisions the series made was changing the triple bananas so that they revolve around you same as the shells. When they're trailing behind you, that's basically 3 free guards and no one's gonna pass that up. Remember that line about players optimizing the fun out of games? In Mario Kart 64, it was quintuple bananas, and man, I don't know, doesn't that seem excessive? What are you even gonna do with that? Bob-omb. The explosion is fun and flashy, and I like that it doesn't explode instantly, once again giving you a chance to ruin your own life. I also like that you can't use it to defend yourself, except in Mario Kart Tour, which, not the best design decision? I love that the general vibe of the Bob-omb is that the game has just handed you a bomb, which, I mean, that is what happened. Wait. Oh my god. Blooper. This one's hit or miss for me. The visual effect is really— why do I feel like I just watched something inappropriate? The visual effect is really different in different games. It ranges from watermark to cataracts. Visual block gimmicks in general only go so far in my opinion. Most of the time you can just work around it. It's a cute idea, but it's not all that special. And what about CPU characters that don't need to worry about looking at a screen? Also, Tour makes it extremely easy to shake off the ink. What's with that game and simplifying items? Bullet bill. It's interesting that one of the prestige items just sort of takes control away from you. It gives Bulleted William this sense of unrestrained, uncontrollable power. It's exhilarating. That unwieldiness also stops it from creeping too hard into the stars territory. I also like the principle of an item that glues itself to your inventory until the duration runs out. You get the power, but you might miss out on getting another item as a result. Simple but effective. So that's all the core items, I suppose. I'm definitely not missing any. Nope. No, get out, get out. Let's get into the slightly weirder recurring ones. Golden mushroom. It's the mushroom, but more. It's interesting to have an item that you can use a limitless number of times in a limited time frame, with a similar limitation to the one I just described about Billy Bob. But in general, it doesn't really push the item heuristics of Mario Kart super far. Boo. Crime is fun. Item theft feels so obvious that I'm surprised so many games in the series left this one out. There's something undeniably fun and devilish about it. Makes it feel like a cat burglar or a rascally Victorian cut purse. I like that in 8 Deluxe it steals at random rather than targeting the nearest person. You can scan the opponent UI and determine that you have a 17.6% chance of stealing that triple mushroom from Rosalina and weigh the odds. I also like that the invisibility mechanic manages to feel functionally different from the star's invincibility. Fake item box. This one's another hit or miss. No, more toward miss. The entire shtick of it is that it's supposed to trick people into thinking it's a real item box, except most item boxes appear in groups, so no one's really gonna be fooled by it. It's like, you could take a cardboard box and write ATM on it and dump it in a swamp somewhere, but nobody's really gonna put their debit card in there. Also, the degree of similarity between the real and fake item boxes varies. Mario Kart DS? Sure, if you squint a little. Mario Kart Wii? Sell me a bridge while you're at it. So if you excise the identity theft aspect, what you have is an item that you can drop on the track and hope other people will drive into. So it's the banana peel. Except it can't block items. So it's the banana peel, but worse. Yeah, no wonder they left this one behind. Lucky 7 and Crazy 8. I don't know, this Miscellaneous mashup is not necessarily the height of intellectual provocation. In fact, I think the general response to pulling these items is to just start button mashing and throw them all out, maybe stopping to think when you have 1 or 2 left. And I kind of feel like that's the point though. It's just a fun little chaos thing. It does what it needs to. Okay, so all that's left now is a bunch of the random weird items, which I'm gonna sort of speed through. Feather. I love how weird this one is. It's just like, jump. The course design in the original kinda made it work. There were some truly insane shortcuts available, sort of the same kind of synergy as the mushroom. What's really wild to me is that it came back, as a battle mode exclusive no less. How do you feel when you get the feather in battle mode? Like, cool? Whatever? It has offensive potential now too, which is even weirder. Was anyone asking for this comeback? Was there a whole movement like, I want the car to jump? Were people really clamoring for Baby Daisy to have a quill pen? Mega Mushroom. It's literally the star with a different skin. That's it. The Mario Kart Tour version is better, never thought I'd say that, because it just protects you from one hit. Also, there's something kind of satisfying about the way you become immune to obstacles but you get damaged by regular items. You can crash through a chain chomp but a green shell cuts you down. It feels right somehow. Makes me think of a blimp getting punctured. Fire flower. I see it as a sort of green shell light. The rapid fire aspect is interesting, and it's another persisting item, which is also interesting. The piece that interests me the most, though, is the idea of a small hit, like one that doesn't set you back as much as a full hit does. I think there could be more that could be done with that. Thundercloud. This one gets a lot of hate, and I don't fully see why. The idea of a sort of transmissible curse is really interesting to me. You get a boost as long as you have it, but you have to get rid of it before it zaps you. Do you take advantage of the boost? How long do you do so before you start trying to pass it off? Maybe it would be better if it lasted a little longer, and or if the advantage it gave you was a more obvious one. I also think aesthetically it's better to frame something like that as a virus. In fact, the arcade spin-offs actually do have virus items like that, but I'm not going to talk about those games. POW block. It's lightning, but worse. Opponents still lose their items, but they have a surefire way to not lose momentum that will never fail. And the POW block announces itself like 3 years in advance too. There's also like 5 million different circumstances that basically grant complete immunity to it. Super Leaf. The other attempt at a short-range offensive item. It's got defense too, but you need to be actively using it, which is an okay touch. It's another persistent item, but one a little less chaotic than some of the others, so you might time when you activate it in the hopes that it'll run out before reaching the next item box. It definitely didn't need to last that long though. All in all, I don't think it adds too much, and I'm not so sorry to see it go. Boomerang flower. It's kinda weird. It's a projectile without the bounce of a green shell or the homing of the red shell, but with 3 uses. It's fine, but I don't really find that it adds anything. Piranha plant. I think this might be my favorite of the Mario Kart 8 exclusive items. The way it indiscriminately attacks everything that comes near it, and you get a little boost for each one. You don't need to think about when you activate the Piranha plant, but once you do activate it, you start thinking about where you're aiming yourself, who you're attacking, how you can maximize your advantage. Such a versatile plant. Just put this guy in Smash. So that is every single item. I have covered all of them, and now all that's left is to... Oh no. Is it too late to cover the arcade items? Let's talk about the frying pan. Coin. You don't need me to tell you that the coin is the worst item in the game, from the perspective of the person getting it. I mean, it does literally nothing. Okay, there is the slight speed boost you can get, and you can actually find whole videos about that, but it feels negligible, and you know, you don't feel happy when you get the coin. You can't defend yourself with a coin, you can't get an immediately tangible advantage, and in my opinion that's exactly why the game needs it. I've hopefully made it clear by now that I'm evaluating items not in terms of their raw, literal usefulness, but in terms of what they add to the game strategically, intellectually, and emotionally. What item you get from an item box is random chance, so there should be a chance that what you get will disappoint you. In the past, if you dropped a banana peel before you reached an item box, you were very likely to get something equivalent or better. As of Mario Kart 8, if you drop that banana peel, there's a chance you'll regret it. And that's something you're forced to consider before you do it. I think that 8 Deluxe's double item thing was honestly a bad decision because it kind of restricts the efficacy of the coin in keeping players on their toes. Optimize the fun out, right? There's this sort of idea that the presence of the coin in the game is something to take offense to, and that it should be removed from the game because it's an unsatisfying item to receive. But isn't that a strange idea? I don't think a video game needs to feel satisfying all the time. Negative feelings, not only sadness but frustration and dissatisfaction, are allowed to be part of the experience. Video games are art, and art evokes emotion. Do people take offense to Hamlet for having a sad ending? Do people take offense to horror movies for being scary? Actually, don't answer that one. I think I'm afraid to hear the answer. I don't want to chastise anybody for disliking the coin, I just want to hopefully illustrate that it does contribute something to the game, and there is a reason for its being there, and that's worth remembering. The coin is the worst item in the game, but in my opinion it's one of the best designed items because of what its simplicity introduces to the dynamic of all the items in the game. The coin is a bad item, but that's because there needs to be one. It's the item we need, but not the item we want. It's not truly an item. It's a silent guardian, a watchful protector, a dark knight. At this point, it's probably clear that I've told a little white lie. This video was never truly about identifying the worst item in Mario Kart. It was about Mario Kart as an example of the art form that is video games, and the way its items contribute to the experience of consuming it as a piece of art. That said, I won't deny you my answer to the question. The worst item in general in Mario Kart is obviously the coin, but which item in my opinion is the worst designed one? I think I need to give this ribbon to the fake item box. It doesn't live up to the function implied by its name and visual design, and practically achieves nothing not already covered by the banana. I also give runner-up ribbons to Wii's Mega Mushroom for being literally just the star, the pre-8 multi-banana for actively making the game more boring, and the Blooper for doing practically nothing. What about the best? In terms of player experience, the bullet bill probably does the most for you, figuratively and literally. But design-wise, I keep mentally going back to the red shell. Like I said before, the experience of playing the game would not be what it is if not for the red shell. The runners-up are the mushroom for its interesting circumstantial uses, and the coin. I also have to give a shout out to the Boo and the Piranha Plant for their fun factor. I'm only human. Thank you for joining me on this little adventure. I hope I've provided something worth thinking about. And in general, I hope that we all appreciate the spectrum of emotions that video games can stir in us. Okay, so I have 3 ideas for new Mario Kart items. The first one is the teleporter, which teleports you to a random point on the track. It might be more fun if there's also like a 10% chance of it teleporting you to just another track altogether, just a completely separate race. The second item is a gun, which you can use to shoot and kill people. And the third one is the Faustian Bargain, which allows you to call upon all the powers of hell. You become extremely powerful, but after the race, whichever character you used gets immediately dragged to hell, and they're just permanently removed from the character select. Yeah, sign my petition, guys. If we can get it to 300 signatures, Nintendo legally has to put all these items in the next Mario Kart.